Hello, my name is Kathy and I like to read. So welcome back. So for this week's video, I thought I would do not quite a challenge, but just like a little like stock take. And I thought I'd do a how many pages can I read in a week? So I'm going to do little clips from every day of my reading progress. And yeah, let's just see what I can read in a week. So I thought I'd put a few things into context just so you understand how much time I have for reading and things like that. So I work full time. I've got a little bit of a flexible start time, but essentially I work 9 to 5. I also work from home twice a week, but I commute into the office 3 days a week. And the office that I work at is a little bit of a drive away. It's roughly about 50 minutes each way. So I round it up to an hour and just say I've got 2 hours drive each day. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. It just depends on the traffic. I do that 3 times a week, so it's about 6 hours of commuting. I also study. I am studying to become an accountant and exam season is coming up, so that also takes away some of my time. So in terms of commitments, that's what I've got so far. And there's also other bits and bobs, life stuff that everyone has in between, but those are essentially the main things that take the majority of my time. So while I would love to just read for evenings and hours on end, it doesn't really work for me. Audiobooks have recently become my godsend. I've been putting audiobooks on at any opportunity I can. I put them on when I'm cleaning, when I'm walking on my walking pad, just doing chores and stuff like that. I'm also a big YouTube fan. I love watching YouTube videos and more recently making YouTube videos, and editing does take quite a bit of time. So that's a bit about me for context. So I just thought, wouldn't it be fun just to see on average how much I can read in a week? I don't want to make it a test. I don't want to try and read however many 100 pages. The next week, I'm just trying to think about what commitments I've got going on. Not too much. I've got like a nail appointment. I think I'm going to the cinema one day. My weekends I've kept clear because I need to be studying to catch up on my revision because my exams are coming up. So it's currently Saturday, so I'm going to do this until next Friday. And yeah, I'll just check in with you guys. So for today, I have already started reading. I like to put my audiobook on when I'm getting ready for the day. So when I put my makeup on and things like that. I still am a big YouTube fan, but because I'm so into my audiobooks, that's what I've been opting to listen to instead of putting YouTube on in the background. So I'm currently listening to Glow by Raven Kennedy. I've managed to get all of these audiobooks from my local library. There was a bit of a wait. The reason why I've ended up picking this up at this time is because I don't want my library loan to run out. So this is what I've currently been reading so far. So I'm currently this far into it. So I've got majority of it done. This is like a 700-page book, and I think I'm roughly on page 500. So I've got about 200 pages left, but that was at the start of the day. So let me just figure out how much I ended up listening to on the audiobook. Also, I don't know if you can spot this, but as I was reading yesterday, I spilled Pepsi Max all over it, so it crinkled some pages. I had to let it dry by the window. I felt terrible. But yeah, she's looking a bit sad. Oops. As I was getting ready, I listened to approximately 30 pages. That was probably I think it probably took me about 40 minutes to get ready. So I do find that audiobooks are slower than if I would be reading. I just love the ease of the audiobook. I think it's good to just whack on and do whatever mindless task you're doing. I actually did the drive to Newcastle last weekend. I managed to listen to the majority of one audiobook and then start Glow because it was like a 3-hour drive each way. So really enjoying audiobooks at the moment. In terms of my opinion of Glow, I'm currently not too sure. I must be like 75% through this book so far, and not much has happened. This whole series is very, very character focused, not very plot focused. In the first few books it was fine, but now we're getting into book 4 and I'm at 3/4 of the way through book 4 and I'm just waiting for the plot to develop. I'm just unsure so far. I like the character development and things like that. It just felt it was just slow. That's all I can think about so far. Slow and spicy, and I'm not bothered about the spice scenes, but there's been considering that book 3 was a slow burn, there's so many spice scenes in this that I'm bored of it. I'm over it. I kind of just want the plot to develop so that the spice scenes will stop. The fact that there's still 2 more books after this. I know that I think they're shorter than this one. This is potentially the longest one. It's like 700 pages. I should probably get this finished this weekend so that I can start a new book in this vlog as well. But yeah, currently 33 pages today. I don't know if I'll get a chance to read more later on because I do need to do some studying and I've got some other YouTube bits I want to film. So that's my reading check-in so far. video, so I thought I would do a little reading check-in. It is currently Monday and I have some updates for you. I didn't do a check-in yesterday because I did some studying, so I kind of wanted to focus on that. Probably won't do a talking segment for all my check-ins just because otherwise this video is going to be really long, and I'm hoping this will be more of a chill, low-key reading vlog. I'm also just trying to not be too precious about how I look because I can't spend as much time getting ready for these videos. I'd like to be really chill, very realistic with you. It's been a long day. It's about 8 o'clock already. I've been at work all day. We've had tea. Put on a t-shirt to chilling. But let me give you a reading check-in. So I have been reading Gleam at the moment. On Saturday I read 100 pages. On Sunday I read about 60 pages of this. And then I finished this book today. I finished it this morning actually, so let me just work out how many pages that is. Today I've already read 51 pages of Gleam. I listened to this on the audiobook as I was getting ready and then on my drive to work, and I actually finished it by the time I got to work. So I had about an hour and a half of the audiobook left when I checked last night, and I managed to finish it this morning. And it's a bit of a disappointing one. I rated this 3 stars. I really enjoyed Gleam. I thought it was such a strong plot point it ended on, and then Glow just didn't match it. I don't know what it was. Well, no, I know what it was. A whole load of nothing happened in this book. Like, it was very character focused, and I realised I need plot based storyline. I need it. I like the character development. I like how Oren changed. I loved learning about the backgrounds of all the different characters. I loved the aspects of that and the development. But this was just too long for not much to happen. And Oren was, she was annoying and stubborn, but then she could magically, once she set her mind to do something, she magically did it straight away. She didn't even struggle, which was very unrealistic. It was so spicy and it didn't add to the plot, so I don't know why there were so many spice scenes. I feel like it was really unnecessary. I wrote my Goodreads on my dinner break being like, too much. Yeah, I think the whole pacing of this series, it just doesn't make sense because it could be so condensed. It's just not much happens. And I've heard the next book is just the same. I've heard the next book is also like a filler book, which if this wasn't a filler book, then what was it? We got a little bit of plot towards the end. I say it's like the last 10%, no, probably about 10, 15, 20%. And I'm not a big fan of how the plot's going. I feel like Raven Kennedy has just suddenly shoved a bunch of storylines in there. I don't really like how it's going. She did sprinkle some different POVs, so I really like the FMC and the MMC's POV, and then she just added some random ones in between, which I didn't hate, but I didn't like how she had to add them to develop the plot, because I feel like she didn't integrate it all well enough. There was parts of this where I thought a character would appear, and they didn't, and you just got this reveal at the end, and that's how the plot's going to develop, and I felt like it just wasn't, I don't know, I'm not sure about it. I hate to say it, but we might have peaked at book 3, and I've still got 2 more books to go. So that's the first book I finished. I think this took me about a week to read, and I was tanning it. I've been listening to the audiobook and reading it, and the audiobook, oh my god. So I've been trying to listen to audiobooks because I've got a lot of passive time driving and getting ready, but I do not like the narrator. She sounds whiny and nasally, and I'm not a big fan of it. I do not like the female audiobook narrator. I like the male narrator. And I think they added a Welsh accent, so I really like that aspect of it. Yeah, I've got the other audiobooks ready to go from my library, but I'm just not itching to pick this up. But I also don't want my audiobooks to run out before I get a chance to listen to them, because then I think it's October until I can get them renewed again. I don't want to just hate read it and finish reading the series just to tick it off. So not the strongest. I was about to say it wasn't bad. I didn't enjoy it as much. I felt like it was all just a long, unnecessary book filled with spice. Didn't really add to the overarching plot. We got some cool background bits, but yeah, this was a 3-star. So I finished this morning. So that was my 51 pages of this book, and then when I was at work, I started Anathema by Kerry Lake. I wonder if you can even see this cover because of how shiny it is. I managed to snag the indie published book because I saw she's being traditionally published and I really wanted to grab this copy. This is going to be a trilogy, I think. This is in the Eating Wood series, and I think the second one has been announced recently. So I thought it was a good time to read this, and also because I really enjoyed another book I read this month, One Dark Window, which had the gothic fantasy aspect. I thought I'd really enjoy this. So I've actually used an Audible credit on this. I was only going to use the free trial. If you watch my June reading wrap-up, you'll see that I listened to The Bridge Kingdom, and that was included in the Audible trial. And I listened to Phantasma, and I forgot to cancel my trial. So I ended up getting an extra credit, so I saved it for this because this is really hard to find. Well, I think this is only available on Audible. So I thought, what a great excuse to listen to this, because this, again, it's a chunky book. It's going to take me a while to read if I don't listen to it as well. And this was a TBR pick for me because it's got trees on the cover. Wow, trees. So let me figure out how many pages I've read. And I love that this is on Kindle Unlimited. I can listen to it on Audible. I can read it on my Kindle, but then I can also, I've got the really aesthetic, like, physical copy already. The way that I like to do it is that I link my Audible to my Kindle and then my Kindle to my physical book. I like that it all links. I was talking to somebody at work about this because we were talking about books and stuff. I am a sucker for an Amazon reading product. I like Audible. I'm just not prepared to invest in it at the moment when I already pay for Kindle Unlimited. But I like that it links with my Kindle Unlimited. I like my Amazon Prime. I love it all. So yeah, I am a whew, you got me. Ooh. Because I've been reading this on Kindle and Audible, I didn't even look at the... Ooh, so we've got a map. I did skip all the glossary terms because if you have to put a glossary at the start, then I don't want that to overshadow your world building and explanation. So I'm going to skip it and I'll refer back to it if I need to. I don't want to read it in advance because I feel like it gives some of it away. So I ordered quite a few books on Amazon and I never know if like this. Can you see this like dark, this printing? Never know if that means that the printing's wrong, if I've got a dud. A lot of my Zodiac Academy books have got like funny printing. I had a look online and some people just say it's the style. Am I supposed to have more like dark chapter pages? Okay, so we've got part 1, which is this cool like gothic style. We've got Mavis chapter page there. And then we've got Zavander's. Then we've got Zavander's again. You see that? And then we don't seem to have any more. Did I buy a dud? So then we've got another part 2. I'm pretty sure there's a part 3 as well. Oh, by the way, I'm trying to not hold up my mini mic as much because I feel like it was really like unsatisfying to keep looking at it. And I feel like I like being more like hands-free to be able to do this. So yeah, no more mini mic. So we do also have a part 3. Let me go back to where I was. Let me figure out where I was in chapter 3. On Kindle it says I'm on page 46, so let me see what that actually relates to on the physical book. Do you know what? It's not that far off. It says I'm on page 47. That's where I am so far with Anathema. I've barely started, so I don't really have much of a check-in for you. The beginning prologue was a bit confusing. It was a lot of words and I understood like what happened, but in terms of what it means, not too sure. So we've just been introduced to Mavis, and we've kind of like set the scene for the eating woods and the atmosphere and like her family dynamics and that. So far it's really setting the scene. It's really like gothic and cool, and I'm really into like Summerween at the moment, so I am enjoying this so far. I'm not sure how much extra I will read today, but currently
51 plus 47, 98.
You know what? So I am studying to become an accountant, but mental maths, not my strong point at all. Give me a calculator and I can do it. Give me a mental maths, I need a minute. So, what did I just say? So 97 pages so far. Do you know what? This is why I love audiobooks, because even though it doesn't feel like I've read much, I've managed to read like 100 pages today, which I think is not bad so far. There were some bits that I like the idea of tabbing. This is such a satisfying indie book. Oh, love it. So that is my check-in on Monday. So we've finished a book and started a book. So I'll check in with you when I've got more to update. shampoo. Hello, hello. So I thought I would do a little check-in today. Today is Wednesday. I don't think I spoke to the camera yesterday. I definitely did not speak to the camera yesterday. I really didn't do much reading yesterday. At the moment, I'm getting most of my reading done through audiobooks when I'm driving somewhere. Oh, if you can hear my cat fountain, a little ambient like dripping waterfall, I'm really sorry. The cats love it though, and I've started filming this clip and forgot to turn it off. So hopefully you can't hear it, and hopefully we're just gonna roll with it. So yeah, so we didn't read much yesterday. However, I do have a reading update for you today. So I'm currently reading Anathema by Kerry Lake, and let me figure out how far into it I am, because I've been listening to it on Audible. So I'm currently up to page 131. This is how much I've read so far. I've read about 58 pages, and I was listening to it on Audible this morning as I was getting ready, and then on the drive to and from work. And I do have some thoughts so far. I feel like we're not properly into the storyline just yet, so it's not like in terms of plot development, we've not got really far into it. However, this is giving me Crescent City vibes in terms of the world building. So it's dual POV. We've got Mavis POV, who is in the mortal world, the mortal realm, and we've got Zavander's POV. So I didn't realise that I thought this was a fantasy kind of like One Dark Window, where it's set in one realm and it's just gothic vibes. I didn't realise that you've got Mavis, who is in one realm, and you've got Zavander, who is in another. And in Zavander's POVs, we've got a lot of heavy world building. Because I'm listening to the audiobook, I am only listening to it on just like general one speed, because there's so much information. It's quite a lot to take in. I think I probably would benefit more from like eyeball reading this. But yeah, just because of a few factors, I am listening to it on Audible. And it is quite intense so far. It's quite confusing, but it doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it so far. But yeah, it is giving me like Crescent City vibes in terms of the world building aspect right at the beginning. It's a lot of information, a lot to take in. But because you're mixing up Zavander's POV, which has got all the heavy world building in it, and Mavis. Is it Mavis? Yeah, Mavis. Yeah, because you're mixing up the POVs between Zavander and Mavis, you kind of get a little break from the world building. This is my first proper duet narration, so I've listened to regular audiobooks with one character voice. I've listened to dual narration, which has like got the FMC and the MMC, but this is duet narration. If it's the man's dialogue in the FMC's POV, it's narrated by a man. Does that make sense? I feel like I've done a really bad aspect of it. So it's a male voice saying the male dialogue and the female's voice saying the female dialogue, regardless on whose POV it is, either it's the FMC or the MMC. So that's really interesting so far. This is giving me proper gothic atmosphere. There's been some like animal descriptions. Oh, I just got to the description of some piercings, which is a bit like, I might have to skim back to make sure I listened to it or read it correctly. But that's my check-in so far. So far I'm enjoying it. It's going to be quite a long book, I think. Yeah, considering I'm only this far in and it's 130 pages. How many total pages is this? 670. I don't think I'll get this finished in time for this reading vlog to go up. But I'm hoping to get quite a big chunk done. So I don't know how much more reading I'll get done today. Like I say, I've already read 58 pages. I could potentially might read a bit more later on, but yeah, I'm going to be studying tonight as well, which will have to take priority. And it's my turn to cook. And I've got some chores and, just life stuff. Why does life have to get in the way of reading? But yeah, so far it's gothic, it's cool. I like the dual POV. I like the audiobook in particular. I understand the very simple gist of the storyline so far. You've got Mavis, who was left on the edge of the Eating Woods. You don't know where she came from, and she was adopted by this family, and then her dad has just died. So it's proper evil stepmom vibes. Her evil stepmom, Agatha, is then basically, because the last patriarch of the family has died, she just wants to get rid of her hands of Mavis and Mavis' sister. So it's just following how Mavis' life is currently changing because of the passing of her dad, and basically she's trying to be wed off, and obviously nobody ever wants to be wed off in books like this. And then you've got Zavander, who was cursed as a child, cursed with this sable fire, and he is looking to find a cure. And I have a feeling that they're gonna intertwine, obviously, right? So yeah, so that is Anathema so far. I've not got as much reading done the last few days as I would hope to, but as I said, my studying will have to take priority at the moment. So that's my check-in for today. Hello, it's a few days later and I thought I would round up this video. Let's start with seeing how many pages I ended up reading on Friday. I think I put the clips in, but I listened to a little bit of the audiobook. I ended up going to the cinema and I saw Fantastic Four. It was really good. So highly recommend. We are very much in our like cinema era at the moment. We're really enjoying going to the cinema and seeing what's out. So let me work out how many pages I read on Friday. Okay, so on Friday I read 96 pages. I got to page 370 of Anathema. So this is what I've read so far. So that was on Friday. So we got to about the halfway point on Friday. However, it is now Sunday and I have just kept reading. I think I'm about 70% of the way through, but I will try and round up my thoughts as to where I was when I read this. So when I was 50% of the way through, the plot has developed, the FMC and the MMC are now interacting, and I'm really enjoying this. It's not what I expected in terms of, it's a lot more of a fantasy world. I thought this was more like gothic spooky vibes, but this is like, it's not high fantasy because I'm not sure what classifies high fantasy, but it is proper, it is fantasy. Yeah, it's got training, it's got magic, it's got all the different races, it's got the politics and everything like that. So I really like the relationships you've got in this in terms of with the sister and then the Latalis. Like I said, I'm about 70% of the way through so far and it is really good. So I'm really glad I picked this up and I can't wait for the next one to come out. Apparently it's coming out in September, so I've read this at a really good time. Okay, so let me just add up how many pages I read this entire week.
106, 103, 20, 85, 16, 580.
So I read 580 pages this week, which isn't bad. I've got other commitments at the moment, which means I can't just be reading constantly. But with the help of like audiobooks and like, I think I spent one evening where I had a couple hours to read. I don't think that's too bad. 580 pages. That is like a good chunky fantasy book or a couple like smaller books, but I'm really into my fantasy. Obviously, fantasy romance at the moment. I was just curious to see what it'd be like and do like a little sprinkle of almost like a weekly vlog. It's got some like B-roll and things like that. We did some good like browsing in like for the autumn stuff and Summerween and everything like that. I've got the stats on my phone here. So I think on the weekend I didn't read it half as much as I thought I would. I only read 160 pages over both days, and I can tell that the days that I read the most are the days that I have the audiobook on, unless I'm dedicating the evening to reading, which is quite rare. Just thought it'd be fun to do. So just to round up, so we did finish Glow, which I called Gloom a few times, so my bad. We finished Glow in this video and we started Anathema. And I probably will finish this in July, so you'll hopefully see the rest of my thoughts in my monthly wrap up. So yeah, so I'm actually filming this on the day it's going live, so I'm going to quickly rush to edit this last clip in. But I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Why am I holding these like this?